Hi, my name's Shani Steinhubel, and I love helping people get ready for job interviews. It's one of my favorite things to do. So today I want to share with you the top 10 mistakes that people tend to make in them. This material is a prelude to the course that I'm offering at jobinterviewrockstar.com. So, you ready to get to it? Let's go. The number one mistake people make in a job interview is that they tend to focus entirely too much on themselves. Now, I totally understand why they do it. You desperately want the job, you're excited, you need some sort of change. There's some reason that drove you to apply on that job, and you want it for yourself, and that's great. But that's the wrong mindset to go into a job interview with. What you need to be thinking is, how can my skills and abilities help this company? If you can just switch your mindset for that 1 hour, that 45 minutes that you're in the job interview, you will be in a much better position to sell yourself. The number two most common mistake people make is to not answer the question, and this takes two forms. The first form is the worst one, and that's to say, oh, I don't have an answer for that. You have to understand that in a job interview, you are being graded. They're scoring your response to every question, and they're thinking to themselves, okay, that response was worth a 3 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10. If you don't answer the question, what is your score? It's 0. So you must answer the question. Even if you answer poorly, you'll get partial marks, and partial is better than nothing. The other way that interviewees don't answer the question is by not answering the right question. So let's say the interviewer asks you to provide an example of a time you made a difficult decision, and you respond with an example about a time you solved a problem. Decision-making skills and problem-solving skills are different topics. Yes, they have similarities, but the interviewer is forced to score your answer low because technically you missed the mark. You need to make sure that your example demonstrates your ability to perform a specific skill that's referred to in the question. The number 3 mistake is entitlement. Now, I understand that entitlement is a nasty word these days because it's often used stereotypically to describe the millennial mindset, but just hear me out, okay? The new norm these days is that young people have to spend years and years in post-secondary education to land jobs that were once given at an entry-level position. The jobs haven't changed, just the entry-level requirements. And that leads people who have achieved those requirements to oftentimes show up with a, I've paid my dues and I've done my time, now it's time for someone to reward me attitude. Now, it's not that anyone ever actually says those things out loud in an interview. That would be crazy. It's more like a feeling or a vibe that you get that permeates the room, and it's really off-putting to interviewers. What you need to do is acknowledge that you put in the time and effort into acquiring the education or experience that's required, and then indicate that you will continue to put in that time and effort when you get the job. The fourth mistake made in interviews is showing up unprepared, and I'm talking about being unprepared in the real sense, as in not even having as much as a pen or a piece of paper with you. There's absolutely no business context where this is appropriate. Another way people show up unprepared, which is number 5 on our list of mistakes, is to show up unrehearsed. Unprepared means you're empty-handed. Unrehearsed means you're empty-headed. You haven't looked over any questions, you haven't thought of any examples, and you certainly haven't practiced. If you show up unrehearsed, you've basically made a first impression that says, I didn't care enough about getting this job to put the work into getting ready for this interview. What does that say about you? Winging the interview is a terrible idea. Interviewers can always tell when you haven't prepared, so you need to practice. Number 6 is knowing very little about the company or very little about the job. This mistake is so incredibly common, even though I suspect that most people know they really should research a company before the job interview. I think why this becomes a problem in the interview is not because people don't do the research, but more so that they don't know what to research. So here's the tip. You need to know how the company makes money and what role the job you're interviewing for plays into that. For example, if you think of an electronics retailer, how do you think they make money? Well, your initial thought may be by selling electronics. A more researched answer, however, might be that they make money by selling a massive amount of goods at a very low profit margin to a highly fluid customer base. Every company, even ones that do the exact same thing, have a different approach about how they do it, and you need to understand those differences. The 7th mistake consistently made in job interviews is being unknowingly modest by using the pronoun we instead of I. I am almost positive that for most people this is simply a habit, but it's a habit you need to break for the purposes of an interview. If you say, we decided, we developed, we utilized, the interviewer has no idea whether you're the leader or the follower in that scenario. For all we know, Joe is the one who made the decision and you just went along with it and now you're taking the credit. Learning to get used to saying I is really difficult and requires rehearsing. It doesn't happen naturally, so it's something that you need to practice. Number 8 on our list is asking self-centered questions. Here's what I mean. At some point in the interview, the tables will turn and they will ask you, do you have any questions for us? And because A, you're unprepared, B, you're too focused on yourself, C, you're feeling entitled, or D, all of the above, You'll ask questions like, how much would I travel in this role? What are the benefits like? What would be a typical day of work for me? And what would the job pay? These seem like decent questions, right? Wrong. It is way too soon to be asking these questions. Save these questions for when there's an actual job offer on the table. Why? Because the answers the interviewer gives you to those questions in no way improves your chances of getting the job. Number 9 is an easy one, forgetting to ask for the job. At the conclusion of the interview, you will need to indicate that you want the job and that you'd be a great asset to their team. Remember to focus on them. Make them feel like hiring you would be a great decision on their part. And that brings us to number 10, the best one. Remember to be human. I know that you're nervous and not quite yourself as a result, but make an effort in your interviews to be human. Smile, laugh, crack an appropriate joke, be friendly. Talk with enthusiasm and energy like you would with a friend. Alright, we're done. I know that was a ton of information in a hurry, and believe me, I have so much more great information to share that will help you be the interview rock star that I know you can be. My online course is full of videos just like this one, covering important topics like understanding what's happening on the other side of the interview table, or how to be prepared for those inevitable questions that they're going to ask. I'll also cover all aspects of behavioral-based interview questions, how to know what kind of questions they're going to ask, and how to answer them consistently and confidently every time. I really do hope that you'll come over to jobinterviewrockstar.com and see what the course is all about, but whether you do or not, I'm glad to have shared this information with you, and I wish you the best of luck on your interview.